Here's a graphic from the earth.nullschool.net page. And it's really cool. You can do different things. And what I've done is I've turned on the sea surface temperatures, which is shown here, where you can see the warmest temperatures are shown as purple. I'll go and get the legend to show that. So purple being the warmest temperature, there's our scale. And we can see on the bottom right how that changes with the warmest temperatures there and coldest. And I also have the wind being shown there as well. What we can do with this is show a few different things. And I'm going to zoom into the area of focus for us here in North America. Most of our hurricanes come from this general direction and then work their way up and hit somewhere along the Gulf of Mexico or the East North American coast. Now there's occasions where we do have hurricanes that come out of this particular area, the North Pacific, off of the coast of Middle America and Mexico, that can get up into Southern California. However, overwhelmingly those are impacting us are here. Now this is very characteristic of late August, early September, during peak hurricane season, to have the warmest temperatures in this particular area, particular hemisphere. So it makes more sense there along the equator that we're going to find our warmest temperatures. Now if we look a little bit closer at the wind patterns, let's focus in on that right now. We should see convergence, and we should also see a general east to west pattern. And do we see that? Well, right there we see convergence. Notice how the wind patterns are converging here. And so that's the underlying, getting that warm, moist air to converge is fundamental to kickstarting this whole hurricane formation. And so we get the converging winds bringing together warm, moist air, then combine that with the wave effect, combine that with convection, you again get the recipes for the ignition of a hurricane. And so these hurricanes typically start off as this little low pressure tropical disturbances somewhere in this general area, keeping in mind that during our, let's say, our winter and spring, this typically the formation is going to be more in this particular area. But as the time goes on during peak hurricane season for us in August, September, and October, generally the origins are over here just off the western coast of Africa. And so we have this predominant pattern in which winds move, as we can see, generally from east to west in this particular area. And if we see here, notice we have right here, which appears to be a very good example of a low pressure center. I know this because it's moving the opposite of a clock. It's anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. And so here is a good example of a low pressure center, and knowing what I know, it is a hurricane. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the wind speeds associated with this particular hurricane. I now have zoomed in to this particular hurricane. And I've switched over to measuring the surface winds. So you can see the surface winds are there in the green, showing that as far as the scale. And where do we see the surface winds? Well, knowing that this hurricane is moving generally in this direction here, it's moving north, it actually is not going to affect anywhere on the North American continent. So I know that it's the right front quadrant is where I'm going to find the strongest winds there, right in this particular area. And so that's where the winds are the strongest.